Welcome everyone to the How to Apply to the Minnesota Cup video. It's long. Feel free to listen to it at 1.5 or 2 times speed if you just want to get the idea. But hopefully this will answer any of the questions you have about the actual application process. Chances are if you're watching this video, you have already been to our website. But if not, you want to head to the website MN, that's the letters MN, cup.org. And that's going to take you to our website that's hosted at the University of Minnesota. And on there, you're going to look for the Apply Now button. So here you are on the Apply page for the Minnesota Cup. You can see it's hosted by this UNoodle platform up here on the left. That's just the platform that we use for judging and submitting your application. You'll see some of the basic information about the cup listed here. And then over on the right is a click here to apply button. So go ahead and click that. And that is going to take you to a login page. Now, obviously, you don't have a login yet, so you need to create an account, and you will see that button here below. There's some other options, but just go ahead and create an account. As it's easier, you just need your email and password. You don't need to link anything else. Those aren't going to help you anyway. You'll have to fill out specific information for this. Okay, sign up page, pretty obvious. First name, last name, email, password. You're not a robot. Agree to the terms and conditions and click create an account. That's going to take you to what should be a really obvious button to start your 2021 Min Cup application. It'll take a moment to process, but over on the left, you'll see a sidebar show up. There it is. And this has each of the components of the application, so you can refer back to it at any time. Okay, you're ready to start your application. So once you get going, we highly recommend you scroll through, take a look at what you need. Notice that at the bottom, there is a save and a next option. When you hit save, it obviously will save your work. Every time you hit next, it'll save the work that you did on the previous page. Okay, a great place to start here is your company name. So fill this out once you submit your application. This will be the name that we will use to identify your company. If you need to change it, you can do that if you move on into the next round, but we can't do it in between. The next question is asking if you meet the criteria for the Minnesota Cup. So you need to be Minnesota-based and have less than $1 million in revenue per year. If you have any questions, feel free to email us and ask us some details about that. And then, of course, review the applicant code of conduct. That'll be a PDF that downloads when you click the link. Notice that every time you click a button, the percentage complete updates. Next important one is the division or category that you want to enter the Minnesota Cup. So you'll see there's 9 different divisions here. Some of them are fairly obvious, like food, ag, and beverage. There's a general category if you don't feel like you fit into any of the other specific categories. And then 3 of our categories are sort of have some specific requirements in nature. So the impact venture category are companies that require some sort of social or greater good impact that's related to the larger opportunity of your company. And then the other 2 are student and youth. And these often get confused. Student refers to college-age students. So anyone attending a college, that's considered a student, so not a high school student. The youth category are students who are under the age of 18. Or I guess you don't have to be a student per se, but you need to be under the age of 18 to enter the youth category. If we feel like you're in any of the wrong divisions, we can contact you and actually suggest a category that might offer you greater success. Okay, moving on to the big questions. Your executive summary, opportunity, plan, and progress. So the first part is your executive summary. This is generally your elevator pitch, people like to call it, meaning how would you explain your company to someone if you only had a 30-second elevator ride? This should be a very brief statement. It should quickly explain to the judges your company concept in a manner that anyone can understand, and how will you make money, how or have impact. Try to avoid industry or technical language in this executive summary. On to opportunity. So the opportunity is basically talking about what kind of market that you're trying to enter into with your business idea. How much potential actually exists out there for this, even if you're not there yet as a business. Is this a breakthrough idea? Is it a breakthrough product? Is it an innovative approach? Are you solving a real problem? Have you outlined a clear and unique value proposition? Have you identified customers already? And really importantly, how large is this potential market, or how profitable can this business be? The judges take this portion obviously very seriously. It's weighted at 50% of the score. So really take some time into explaining how amazing this is, especially if it's something that the judges might not understand or know well enough. Moving on to the plan. So this is your approach on how you've thought through the execution of your company, especially if you're still more in the idea phase and not already an operating company. You know, is this idea commercially viable? Do you have a really clear approach to creating awareness and obtaining customers? Are you aware of major risks and challenges? And how will you address them? And have you identified the right partners, or putting together a team or a team of advisors to develop this business? So even if you're at the idea phase, what the judges are going to be looking for is that you've actually thought through all of these components and know that there is a way to get to each of them. And hopefully through the Minnesota Cup, you will actually be able to receive mentorship to check off some of those boxes, and that you have an understanding of that. So it's okay to be at the idea phase, but as long as you know that there's a plan out there and you've thought through that plan. Now, progress is where you're at in this plan. You know, this can be tricky if you are in the newer phase or in the idea phase. You know, where are you at in that plan? Do you have a prototype or a minimal viable product that you can show? If you're doing something in software, can you show mock-ups? Can you show diagrams of how things are going to work, or things of that nature? Do you have customers or partners or revenue already? Are you already at that point where you're making some money? Obviously, your progress is going to be further along. If the answer is no to that, that's okay, but let us know your timeline. Show the judges that you've thought through the approach and you understand the time it's going to take to hit each of those milestones. All right, as you scroll down, you'll see that this is supplemental information. None of it is required, although I will say some of this can be really highly encouraged. Websites, social media, there's options for you to link those in here. That gives an opportunity for judges to check out what you've already done, especially if you have built these out. It's a way for them to see more information that you won't be able to get into each of those opportunity plan and progress boxes. You can put your logo in there. This one right here we get a lot of questions about. It's not required, but your summary of your financial projections. There's a lot of ways you can approach this. In the judge video, you'll see them mention this one a lot. And while it's not required, I would say it's really highly encouraged to do some aspect of a financial look. And that can be really simple spreadsheet of here are the expenditures we expect over the next couple of years, and the type of revenue, even if we're not going to be, you know, making a profit yet, like that you have an understanding of those projections. So we highly encourage that you don't ignore this since it's not required. If you're not ready to do that, that's okay. But look at some of our educational content. We talk about how to prepare some of these really basic financial projections. So really consider trying to develop something so that they have an idea that you've looked at it. And it's okay if your predictions are wrong. No one's going to hold you to that and say, well, this is where it has to be. So just take into consideration doing that. Company data. So this is not, it's required, but it won't affect your score. So the judges won't see any of this information. You can see what we're collecting here about where you're at in the company. This is just telling us some things so we can quantify what type of companies are applying to the Minnesota Cup. We can report some of that to our sponsors. How many employees do you have? How much money have you raised? How have you raised that money? Do you have any revenue right now? Are you early? Somewhere in the middle? Not a lot of categories. What city are you located? This can be useful information, particularly those of you in greater Minnesota. There are some other opportunities. You'll see a place to opt in below for some of those opportunities if you're not right in the metro area. So that's sometimes information we want to collect. Do you have any 1099 contract employees? If you don't know, then the answer is probably no. You'll understand if you're issuing those documents And do you have any access to mentors right now? We want to know where people are at with that access, because one of the big things in the Minnesota Cup when you make it to the semifinal round is that we match you with mentors. And so we want to know who already is tapping into something like that. As you keep looking resources, so this is a chance to opt into a referral program. The referral program are for other mentorship, startup support opportunities around the state. Yeah, you obviously can opt out. We might share, if you opt in, opportunities with you depending on some other designators you have about your company. So obviously this is optional and you can decide whether or not you want to do that. Okay, finally onto your team. So you can add team members to the Unoodle platform. You don't need to if you're a solo entrepreneur, great. You can add up to 6 team members, put their email address into that bar, or add multiple into the box. Okay, you've hit next, and this takes you to a page to enter information about each team member. Identifying information about them will help us communicate with you with preferred pronouns. You can add their contact information as well as demographic information such as age, gender, ethnicity, and some of these other identifiers. The reason we're asking for this, or having you opt in to answer, is that there are some specific resources and even cash prizes available to each of these groups. If you watch some of our coverage from the 2020 Minnesota Cup Finals, you will see some of those prizes being awarded to different companies, and it's a very exciting opportunity to help create greater representation in these groups that are typically underrepresented. Final questions, you'll see there's a question about what percent of the company does each team member own. This is linked with some of those identifiers listed above because many of those resources and cash prizes are dependent on ownership level. So make sure you're taking into consideration the amount a particular team member does own and therefore qualify for some of those prizes. So now you're on to the checklist to see what you've completed appropriately. Notice it's a 61% complete. Obviously I didn't fill out all those components. Run through this, pay particular attention to the parts that you filled out and typed in, the opportunity, the plan, the progress, executive summary. Look for those spelling and grammar errors. Nothing drives a judge crazier than not doing that due diligence. Check all the other things you filled out. Make sure it looks good. Your personal details. This is why it's giving me a little negative, not complete, because obviously I didn't fill out all of this information, so it's going to yell at me. And then I can hit submit. So once you hit that, so obviously I haven't filled everything out, it's going to tell me I have some errors. That's okay. You can go back. You can come back to this as much as you need to for the deadline to make sure you're ready to go. Okay, you've submitted it. You can check your status in Unoodle over here on the left. Once you've done that, if it didn't work, you'll see this red negative sign. If it did work, it'll look like a green plus sign. If you see that green plus sign, you are good to go. You don't need to email us and check. Everything's fine. As the deadline approaches, we actually check on applications that look like they were started, and if they weren't finished, we usually reach out and make sure you meant to leave it incomplete.